Thank you, Liz, and thank you, Tilehurst Methodists. You've given us a fantastic welcome. I have organised and arranged many interfaith groups and events in the past in all sorts of strange places, and I freely admit that this one in particular has got me really quite excited. But I want to start with something quite funny that happened a couple of days ago. I'd been coming here for a few weeks, and I sat down in a slightly different place, and the lady who was sitting next to me, she said, "Hello, Sarah, what are you doing here?" And that got me thinking. And I think the reason I'm here, and the reason I go to so many individual faith groups and places of worship, can be summed up in the two W's: welcome and worship. The welcome here has been particularly special because I think many of you know that I've had a very difficult year. I lost both my parents this time last year, and the kindness that has been shown to me has really meant a great deal. So I really do appreciate that. The worship thing. Sometimes people think worship is all about having a good imagination, or being able to talk theology, or having a creed, or all having the same ideas about something. For me, worship is about really understanding what it's like to be human, to put us in our place, to know of all our possibilities, all our potential, all our sadness, all the suffering, and to think of that and do that together. Now, before we go any further, I'd like to introduce you to the best part of a Reading Interfaith Group event, because I'm very aware of how privileged we are here in Reading. What a fantastic opportunity we have to meet like this. I know that some of our friends come from countries where they don't have the same freedoms, and their support means a great deal. I can't change the things that happen in international affairs. I can't go around persuading people, but I feel that here in Reading, we have an opportunity to set a good example, a friendship, to show people here, right in Reading, what a community really can be like. So before we start, I would like to have a few moments of silence for us all to remember in our own way, and I assure you there are a lot of different ways here, in a few moments of silence, just to remember to hold in our thoughts, to pray for all those people who don't have the same opportunity as we do right here and now. So just a few moments. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Doesn't that feel fantastic? Absolutely fantastic. Right, I think some of you think that this evening is an opportunity to find out about all these faiths that are different from us, that don't come in this building. It may be the very first interfaith event they've ever been to. Some of us here are Methodists. And one of the things I have found out about Methodists is that they like to sing. And they can sing really well. So, Methodist here, you are on audition. It's a beautiful hymn. The words are from St. Francis of Assisi about peace. You do not have to sing them. The week before last, when I came in here and I had a chest infection, I couldn't sing a word. And it was great just to sit and listen to everybody. So no one's under pressure to do anything, okay? But it gives the option, okay, David? We'll have a bit of music, okay? To hear the Methodists singing, and other Christians too, if you know the words. If you've ever come across it before, please feel free to join in. It was lovely. Have you heard that before? No. Yeah. You've heard it before. Did you like it? They're good singers here, aren't they? Yeah, they are very good singers here. And I know that many faiths have many different ways in which they pray for peace. Okay. Now, I've got apologies tonight from Callie, who's my Quaker friend. I can tell you a little bit of what she was going to say and where I wanted her to start this evening, because Callie goes everywhere on the bus, and she does an awful lot of what Quakers would describe as walk cheerfully, speaking to God in everyone. And the stories that she tells of her bus rides are a wonderful testament of someone who does what she can for the local community. She's a very special friend. I'm sorry that she can't be here tonight, but it is something that all of us can do. And I think it's really nice for the Interfaith group. It's completely inclusive. I don't say you've got to have an entry qualification. I don't say you've got to be sufficiently holy to join us. Because if I think we did that, people will kick me out, because I've got a wicked sense of humour. I think quite a few of you know that. So I'm really sorry that Callie can't be here. And I don't want to introduce our next best speaker as the second best thing. Especially as I think, because many of you know him. David is here. David is a former minister of this church. I know him as a friend. I know him as a failed writer. That's me that's a failed writer, not David, before he gets up and clouts me. We're both quite creative people, and it's a great honour to sort of do a second lap and meet him again and have him as a trustee on the Reading Interfaith group. So David, do you want to say something? Well, I know what you want to say, so please go and say it. Welcome. Thank you, David.
It's a delight to see everybody here this evening. Just to say something about journeys in the scriptures, the Hebrew scriptures, and the New Testament in Greek, both parts of what Christians call the Bible. In the Hebrew scriptures, there are two particular journeys I'd like to tell you about, and two particular ones from the Greek scriptures. In the Hebrew scriptures, there's the story of Abraham, who is common to Islam, to Jewish faith, and to Christian faith. And he's told to go on a journey that will take him away from all that is familiar, a place where his family have lived for generations, and to go on the strength of the call of God and the promise of God. And he responds. The one thing that's required of him is a depth of trust in God. And that's what he has. He doesn't know where he's going. Now, it's not easy going on a journey where you don't know where you're going. And he's guided step by step. He stands as a sign of what it means to place trust in God. In the Hebrew scriptures too, one of the very vivid journeys is the journey of the Israelite people who were slaves in Egypt. And their journey takes them to liberation, the Exodus journey. When we think of their journey, we remember that there are many, many people in the world who are still living in slavery today. People who are subject to human trafficking, and people who are longing for liberation and freedom. Many people living in oppressive regimes. And part of our praying in our different traditions is to pray for those who are not free, that they may experience freedom and the journey towards freedom. From the New Testament of the Christian scriptures, there are two journeys I'd like to mention there too. One of them is a journey that Jesus goes on. According to Luke's Gospel, he set his face to go to Jerusalem. He was determined to go to Jerusalem, knowing that the likelihood would be that when he got there, he would be subjected to all kinds of suffering. And a great part of him didn't want to go on that journey. There would be an agonizing prayer when he would be praying to God, saying, not what I want, but what you want. So going on this journey, knowing what's likely to await him there, but still choosing to take every step that will take him there. It's a journey of tremendous courage. And sometimes there are journeys that we take in life that we wouldn't choose to go on. And journeys where we keep making the choice to stay on the journey. And if we do so, that's because of the gift of courage that is being given to us to endure. The final story I wanted to mention is the story of Paul on a journey towards Damascus. He is setting out as someone who is very zealous. The beginning of the Christian movement, he feels, is such a terrible thing that he needs to wipe it out. These people are dreadful heretics. These Christians need to be locked up in prison, and he'll do it. And then on the journey to Damascus, where he's setting out to do exactly that, there is a bright light, there's a vision, there's a voice, and the voice is saying to him, Saul, Saul, which was his name at the time, why are you persecuting me? He said, who are you, Lord? And the reply was, I'm Jesus, who you're persecuting. This experience was life-changing for him. And for a while he suffered with blindness because of it. Later he was able to see properly. But the shock of it, that you were setting out on a journey and you knew where you were going, and all of a sudden it's totally the reverse. There would be many journeys he'd go on from there to much of the known world, and this time preaching about the Jesus who he thought was the worst thing ever. But that journey was one in which he thought he knew where he was going, but actually it was all reversed. So 4 people on journeys, one of them persevering with trust, Abraham, the people of Israel finding their way to freedom through the Exodus, Jesus on his way to Jerusalem, a person of enormous courage, and then that journey of Paul, where who knows what will happen on any journey. You're setting out from A to B, you think you know where you're going, but maybe things will change and be very different from what you expected. But in all of those journeys, the presence of the living God, transforming, strengthening, calling, liberating.
I was reminded earlier on today of my A-level English class in Swindon. We had the sort of teacher that everybody had a bit of a joke about behind her back. And she had this enormous flask on her desk. And we all guessed what she might have in her flask. And she used to take great delight in teasing me, because I'd just come from a public girls' school and I had a very posh accent, and I still do have a bit of a posh accent. And the book that we were supposed to be studying was called The Canterbury Tales. And she used to get me to stand up and read all the dirty bits. And of course I pretended I didn't understand. And this morning I went back and I thought about the Canterbury Tales, and I thought there's an awful lot of them. So I went onto Wikipedia and found out that this was a book that was written over 400 years ago by a courtier. I'm sorry, I always share my love of history with everybody. And he described how they all met at this inn, the Tabard Inn in Southwark in south London, and it was springtime, the season for pilgrimages. And I thought, and everybody told a story to pass the time. And I thought, okay, go and get onto Google, find out how long it takes them. No, this is missing the point, Sarah. So I thought, I wonder how many people there were. And there were loads of people, loads and loads of different stories. Knights, pardoners, summoners, nuns, shipmen, merchant, that was one of the dirty ones, I remember that one. The wife of Bath, who married 5 times and saw off all her husbands. Loads and loads and loads of different stories. And then the Canterbury Tales, he doesn't talk about the journey. There's no point when they go, oh look, there's Leeds Castle, isn't it lovely? Can't wait to see the tomb of Thomas Becket, because the focus on this pilgrimage was all about the people from all these different walks of life. And in that time there were only Christians in that country, only Catholic Christians in that country. He tried to include everyone in his story, and they all had a story to tell, and they all listened to each other's stories, and there were different backgrounds, there were different outlooks, there were different perspectives, there were some that you liked and there were some you didn't like, and it was this coming together. And the Canterbury Tales was about a pilgrimage of dialogue from start to finish, like we have this evening. Now, I don't think we're going to come up with the Merchant's Tale this evening, but everyone here has got a story. Everyone here is on a journey. Everyone here has their own experience. Everyone here is going to walk out slightly different from the person they were when they came. And we have this privilege of changing as a result of this evening. Right, I think many of us would say we've been a bit Christian so far. Do you agree, Swami? Very, very Christian. So, I think I ought to throw something really dynamic just to change the direction. I'm going to ask, Swami, would you like to come up and talk? Because I think what you say may be a little bit different from what David says. Is that okay?
I'll try.
Good. I'm quite sure you'll succeed.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Swami Ambikananda, and of the Hindu faith. Pilgrimage, we call it Padayatra. Pada is feet, we walk. And we walk with sometimes very specific intentions. So I met a wonderful woman. There's a beautiful town in northern India that is considered a holy place. So holy, there are no alcohol shops in it. You have to travel at least 10 miles to get a glass of wine. So I met a remarkable, dignified woman. I used to watch her bathe in Ganga in the Ganges every morning. And there was something extraordinary about her. So after a while, I started talking to her, and she told me her story. She had lived in the middle of India, Maharashtra, and had no children, and in her 50s, her husband had died. And she made a decision. She would go to Rishikesh and take sannyas. She would become a Swami. And so she explained, she closed the door of our house, she didn't bother to lock it, and left. And she walked 1,400 miles to Rishikesh, Padayatra. And when she came there, she went to Ganga and took sannyas. Beautiful Padayatra. I've seen people go from one holy place in Rishikesh to another holy place in the Himalayas. It's India. There's loads of space. So if you're going from one holy place to another, it could be a 2 or 3 day walk. I have to admit, I'm a fair weather walker, and 2 or 3 hours is like my maximum. So one day, some lovely young blokes had kind of taken me under their wing, and they said, "Swamiji, would you like to come for a walk?" I said, "Oh, yeah, thanks." And off I sat with them. And I said, so after a couple of hours, I said, yeah, should we be going back now? And they said, "Oh, no, it's going to take us a couple of days to get there." Anyway, it was a lovely experience. But the Padayatra I wanted to tell you about is a different one. There are 6 orthodox philosophies in Hinduism, and one of those orthodox philosophies is yoga. And we know yoga in the West as bendy, stretchy exercises and people who do really weird and impossible things with their bodies. Sometimes I do it. We have a creation hymn from the Rig Veda, and I'm going to just read you a few of its sentences. "Neither existence nor non-existence then, neither space nor sky. There was neither death nor life then, neither night nor day. Only the one was, breathing, breathless by itself. Darkness covered darkness, emptiness covered the life force and the unlit, unfathomable depths. And then finally, from the power and the heat, the one emerged, and love arose in it, and the one became the many." So from this, we accept ourselves not as a creation, but as a manifestation, that in each one of us, lying deeply within each one of us, is that one, that divine beginning force of it all. And yoga teaches us of a slightly different Padayatra. It says you have to travel in the dark. And how do you do that? You turn round, pratyahara they call it, you turn round and you make the journey inward to find that one in the depth of your own being. Now, it sounds nicer than it is. When I first heard stories in the West about mindfulness relieving stress and anxiety, I knew immediately we weren't practicing the same thing. You turn around and face inward and make that journey. You make it in the dark, and you come upon the most terrifying things, baggage you never thought you had. And so they said when we make this inner journey, this inner pilgrimage, we need a point of light. And the point of light is the Guru. The Guru doesn't walk the journey for you. All the Guru does is light the pathway and tell you which way might be more accessible for you and how to put down some of the baggage you've brought with you. Because if you think the baggage in the external pilgrimage is a bit much, in the internal pilgrimage, you really learn about what you're carrying around. So, and the beautiful thing about the internal journey is it is it cannot be confined. Once you make that internal journey, once you begin it, it cannot be confined to any one religion. It is open to us all. Einstein had a beautiful expression: behind everything, there is something deeply hidden. So yoga offered us a pathway into that within, which is deeply hidden. Thank you all very much.
Hello everyone, I'm Hatice. I'm Muslim, so I'm just gonna explain you how we have pilgrimage journey in our religion. I mostly want to, it's hard to, I'm a bit short, it's hard to stand a bit like, yeah, well I'll maybe hold my hands on sides, that might be easier. Well basically, yeah.
To this side, then you can stand.
Oh, okay. All right, that's much easier for me. Thank you. Yeah. Well, I don't want to explain everything what we do step by step. It's going to take long and I don't have that much time. Well, basically, I want to tell you what is my experience, how did I went this journey, and what the journey brings to me. So, because when you go to journey, you never know what's going to happen, who's going to come out to you, and what's that journey and that experience gives to you. So firstly, before I journey, I try to search about what is it, what they do, and then how is it everything. So I found out the journey is mostly about Ibrahim journeys. Ibrahim, and it's basically Ibrahim, isn't it? Sound? Abraham, yeah, you call it Abraham. Yeah, we call Ibrahim, which just sounds like more Hebrew. So the journey is what we practice mostly from Ibrahim tradition, how does it, and then mix it with Muhammad tradition as well. But before I was like saying, what is the rules for this journey? What should I do? What is the following? Basically says you can't do any harming to anything, even yourself. Scratching yourself very badly is harming your body, so it's bad to scratch it very hardly. You can't walk, like if your shoulder hits somebody mistakenly, you have to give away something to poor people, like food or anything. So I read the rules, and then later on I said, okay, what's this like internal thing? What is going on? What is it bringing to me? So I read from Bediüzzaman Zaman, it says, people, a human being, is a universe inside them, and the whole universe inside me. When I do my journey, I imagine I'm becoming not Hatice, I'm just going to become like universe. I'm just taking out my feelings, I'm getting off all this journey. I will just be quiet, not put in my feelings, just going to watch what's going on around me. So we made Medina first. We went there. I see everybody's like going, went to hotel and then do some washing up and sleeping, and later on after rest, we went to see the mosque where the Prophet been living, and then the biggest mosque in the world. So it was really good, because in that time, I remember the story of the prophets, how they've been all the journey. They have been pushing away from their country. They have to do sometimes forced journey, as you said it before. They have to go all this journey. I was thinking how they walk from this city to that city, and there's a big rocks, and the journey wasn't pleasant, easy, and hot weather. It was really hard. I said, I don't know if I can live in that time. It must be really hard. Then when we came to Medina, after Medina, we went to Mecca with the one. There was another big, we rented something and we had to go together. So it wasn't too bad, the journey. I was very excited when I went to Kaaba. I see it first time. This was my first journey, and I feel very different. It wasn't the same as I'm going to somewhere else, like Italy, I went before, and then France. It wasn't the same. So there is some story there. It's been going on before, and that all the pain, all the revelation, all the freedom, human being, and just like all the story I read about the prophets' life, it came to my mind. So I try to have this journey with that understanding what happened in that moment, why they did this, what happened to that moment, what is become now. So this journey, when I was going around the Kaaba, I remember that, and my husband explained me that, saying, there's a dua we are reading, the prayer we were making, the moment when we're passing around. He said to me, there's a dua saying, like, Prophet was making dua for his family and the people like around him. So I read it with him, and he said, this has happened before. When he's reading this dua, this prayer, he was praying, like Muslim pray, and the people around him, like his friends, his like in that area, they put heavy things in his bag, so he can't stand back. When he was praying, he can't stand back, so he will stay there and wait for the death. So he said his daughter came around, and she tried to take that heavy things back, and she just cleaned Dad's face and said, Daddy, don't be sad. Why do they do this to you? What's happening to you? This has happened so many places, so many prophets. And I was just like saying, that time he made this dua, protect my family, protect my people, protect the people who is like victim, who has become a victim and then forced to leave their country. So that time I said, I will be there even though there is no one around them, whatever they believe, whatever they have done. So I was so happy to be Interfaith group, which is helping me to be committing my prayer and continuously do what I can do for Interfaith, and happy to work with Dialogue Society as well. So my journey was like this, but I'm sure every journey taking us individual, different places. So I'm so happy to share it with you. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm from the Jewish community in Reading. And I actually brought the book that we read every week, which has got all the readings in it. And it's about pilgrimage, which is our thing tonight. And this is from Deuteronomy. Sorry, it's a bit Christian again, or Jewish, but hey ho. Actually, you get it from us, and then you get it, and then everybody gets it. And it says, "And you shall rejoice in thy feast." This is from Deuteronomy, and I can't remember the numbers. Oh, it's chapter 16, verse 13 for David. "And thou shalt rejoice in thy feast, thou and thy son and thy daughter, and thy manservant and thy maidservant, and the Levite and the stranger, and the fatherless and the widow that are within thy gates. 7 days shall you keep a feast unto the Lord thy God in the place which the Lord shall choose, because the Lord thy God shall bless thee in all thine increase in all the works of thy hands, and thou shalt be altogether joyful. 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy God in the place that he shall choose, and on the feast of unleavened bread, on the feast of weeks, and on the feast of tabernacles. And they shall not appear before God empty. Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of the Lord thy God, which he has given them." So that's like you're giving alms and charity. So 3 times a year, in the temple days, we were required to pilgrimage to Jerusalem. And, that was it. Bottom line, 3-line width, off you go. And the story of Jesus, they all went there, it goes back to Jerusalem. There was a requirement that you turned up. Well, when the Romans destroyed the temple in AD 70, where were we going to go? And so people did go to Jerusalem, they carried on, and that you've probably seen pictures of the Wailing Wall, which people go to. People still go. I was there in June last time, because there is a requirement, there's an expectation that you will go to the wall. I mean, the wall is just like a wall. It's no big deal, but it's the nearest thing that we have to the temple. And you can go under there are cellars, and you can go under them, and you can get between about here and where David is sitting to where the Holy of Holies is supposed to be. I have no idea. But if it makes some people feel that's the right thing to do, then cool. So it's always been Jerusalem for us. And all our prayers in the books are about turning towards Jerusalem. The synagogue in Reading faces towards Jerusalem. And if you're living on the other side, if you're living in, well, there used to be Jews in Syria and places like that, but they're no longer there. If you're living in, say, in Australia, you're facing Jerusalem, okay? You're always facing Jerusalem. So it's quite fun. Everybody gets their compass out. The other thing that we do, which I always find a bit strange, but we still do it, is that we visit holy graves. So, for example, before I wanted to have children, I went to the tomb of Rachel, which is actually near Jericho, and I made prayers there for the tomb of Rachel that I would have a child and I would have a safe journey and so forth. And thank God it worked, twice, so pretty good. And that's quite interesting. Some people go to pray on the sites of famous rabbis. So if you go to Safad in the north of Israel, there's the Rabbi Caro, who I don't know why he did this, but he codified the whole law. There are books and books like this. And people go and pray on his, on his grave, around his gravesite. I wish perhaps he'd done something a bit shorter, but anyway. We were forbidden to go during the Ottoman period, but after 1187, we were able to visit and go back to Jerusalem. So that's been quite a long time ago. Other places that we go to, the cave of Machpelah in Hebron, where Abraham is buried and all the crew from that family. Extraordinary experience. I've been there. I don't know whether it's amazing or it's not amazing, but you're standing there and you're thinking, Abraham's buried over there. Jacob's there. Sarah's there, according to tradition. I haven't dug them up to have a look. I'm a bit of a skeptic, you could tell. And there's also Joseph's tomb, which is also in the West Bank. And the men go to Joseph's tomb and the women go to Rachel's tomb. So those are the things that we do. It's a privilege to do it. Sometimes there's a terrible joke, and I'll tell it to you and then I'll go away. There's an old man, and he's sitting in front of the wall in Jerusalem, this wall. It's a bloody great big thing. Probably goes up as high as that first strut, maybe a bit higher. And everybody puts in their little message to God, and once a year they come and clear it out. Anyway, and he's sitting there, and they say to him, "So, Rabbi, how are you getting on?" And he says, "It's fine. And you've been praying here for 40 years. Has it made a difference?" "I don't know. I've been sitting in front of a brick wall."
That was brilliant, thank you. Really good. Did anybody spot a few overlaps in our stories? It's a lovely thing about Interfaith. I sometimes say it's like a mirror when you're with another faith group, that you see something you immediately recognise and you think, we do that too. Or it's a reflection. But other times it's like a window and it allows you to see more. Both are good. I think my own identity has been strengthened simply through mixing with other faith groups over the years. As Judi told a terrific joke, I'm going to have to do one now. I saw a picture and I just loved it, and it reminded me of my Turkish friends and their Noah's Pudding event. Yeah. And it was a picture of a very, very fat lion standing in front of a very large wooden boat, which you will immediately recognise as the Ark. And the lion is saying, "It was a rubbish cruise. It rained every single day. But the food was terrific. There was a buffet. I had 2 of everything.